There are reports of illegal cluster bombs and vacuum bombs being used by the Russians. If that's true, what is the next step of this administration, and is there a red line for how much violence will be tolerated against civilians in this manner that's illegal and potentially a war crime?
It would be. I don't have any confirmation of that. We have seen the reports. If that were true, it would potentially be a war crime.
We're in a situation where Ukraine continues to be brutally attacked across the board by munitions, by these cluster munitions that have dud rates that are very, very low, very very that are a danger to civilians, number one. Number two, the Ukrainians are running out of ammunition. The ammunition, they call them 155 millimeter weapons. This is a war relating to munitions, and they're running out of that ammunition, and we're low on it. And so what I finally did, took the recommendation of the Defense Department to, not permanently, but to allow for, in this transition period where we get more 155 weapons, these shells for the Ukrainians, to provide them with something that has a very low dud rate. It's about I think it's 150, which is the least likely to be blowing, and it's not used in civilian areas. They're trying to get through those trenches and then stop those tanks from rolling. And so, but it was not an easy decision, and we're not signatories to that agreement.
Because Joe Biden, he decided to make the difficult decision. He decided to make the difficult decision and send cluster munitions to Ukraine. At least that's what he told Fareed Zakaria. It was a very difficult decision, but Biden wants everyone to know that these cluster munitions, these are the safe ones. These are the cluster munitions that are really safe, not the ones that are dangerous, according to Biden. These are the good ones. These are the good cluster munitions, and these are the wonder weapons that will help Ukraine defeat Russia. So Biden just wants everyone to know that. But the interesting part, one of the interesting parts of his interview with Fareed Zakaria of CNN was that Biden admitted that the United States is low on ammunition, that the U.S. has been demilitarized when it comes to ammo. That was quite an admission from the Biden White House. And in order to keep Ukraine fighting, they've decided to give them cluster munitions. That's what this is really all about. It is about keeping Ukraine fighting. It's not about Ukraine winning, because Ukraine cannot win. Ukraine has lost and it will lose. It's about keeping Ukraine fighting, making it so that Ukraine has not lost and Russia has not won, at least until November 2024. That is what this is all about. It is about getting Biden reelected or getting some other Democrat elected. And it's also about money, getting money to the military-industrial complex, getting money to the collective West political elite. They don't want this conflict to end either, because they are all becoming very, very rich, as are all of the military commanders in the collective West and the military commanders in Ukraine. They're all making a lot of money. And of course, Zelensky is also making a lot of money. So they want to keep this thing going, even though they know they have lost. And that is what this is all about. And even Jake Sullivan, he gave a pathetic statement to the media yesterday, trying to explain away the decision to give cluster munitions to Ukraine. Jake Sullivan wants everyone to know that this is different, because these cluster munitions, well, they're going to be used by the Ukraine military, and they're going to be used on the Ukrainian people. So Ukraine is going to be extra super careful when using these cluster munitions, because they're using them on their own people. So they're going to be very, very, very careful. That was Jake Sullivan's argument. It was pathetic, and you could hear the panic in his voice. I mean, he was panicking. You know why Jake Sullivan is panicking? because Pelosi and the DNC, they called Jake Sullivan and they said, don't you dare let Ukraine collapse, at least not until November 2024. You do whatever you need to do to keep Ukraine fighting. That's what they told Sullivan.
Is that it is going to use these in a very careful way that is aimed at minimizing any risk to civilians. And by the way, Ukraine, the democratically elected government of Ukraine, has every incentive to minimize risk to civilians because it's their citizens. It's Ukrainians who they are trying to protect and defend. This is not Ukraine taking these and going and using them in the Middle East or in Southeast Asia or in some faraway land. They're using them on their territory to defend their territory.
So he's panicking because he also understands that Ukraine cannot win and Ukraine is on the brink of collapse. And Biden giving these cluster munitions, which, by the way, the Ukraine military is already using lethal weapons like cluster munitions. They use these pedal mines and then they fire them in civilian areas in the Donbass and in Donetsk, and little kids see these pedal mines and all kinds of horrible things happen. But anyway, the whole narrative about the cluster munitions, which is a terrible thing, the Biden White House's decision to do this is a turning point. I think we really have reached a type of watershed moment, because you are seeing some Democrats come out and say this is too far. You're seeing a lot of EU leaders and EU member states saying this is too far. For example, Austria, they came out and they said, sorry, we can't support this. Even Germany, even Annalena Baerbock, she came out and she said that Germany simply cannot support this. The UN, they said they can't go along with this. So this is a turning point, because it shows that even these warmongers, Annalena Baerbock, the United Nations, all of these people who are uber, super duper warmongers and hate Russia, they hate Russia with a passion. Even for them, this is like too much. They're like, you've gone too far now, Biden. Even they can't stomach this decision made by the Biden White House. And it really shows the entire world how much Biden not only hates the Russians, but how much he also hates Ukrainians. He doesn't care about Ukraine. The Biden White House doesn't care about Ukraine. That's why they're fine giving over these cluster munitions. They just want to see the war continue, at least for another year and a half. And they don't care how many soldiers, how much military, how many civilians suffer, as long as the conflict continues for them. That's the important part. And they understand that this conflict has been lost. They understand that, but they want to keep it going for as long as it takes. Isn't that their mantra? We're going to support you for as long as it takes. We're going to support you to destroy your country and destroy your people for as long as it takes. That's really what they mean.